Today is May 25th, 2021. It's 5:18 a.m. and currently we are looking at these daily profiles. We are still in this long-term value range. We have been in here for a very long time. I mean, all the way back into March. And we can see that in the last couple of days we have had this bullish outside bar. So definitely bullish in the sense that we're looking at the possibility of coming back up into the top side of value here and retesting these highs here. So at some point it seems like we're definitely going to challenge this high, take this out and break into a new high. We can see also this long-term profile. This is all value. And the higher we get here, the thinner the profile becomes. This is definitely a low volume node showing unfair prices. So we could definitely see this tested today and these highs from last Tuesday. So if we take this out, all this is fairly thin and we should be able to move higher into this. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we see high 70s oil here pretty quickly, which also we are right now trading inside of yesterday's range and inside yesterday's value as well. We have in the overnight session come down and tested into this, kind of filled in some of this low volume area from yesterday, and now recently we've come up and tested the point of control. So now I would expect us to work down and either retest the overnight low here or possibly see if we can come up and challenge these highs. Possibly I would expect a test of this high tick here. So right now what I'm watching is we have come up into some of this untested supply from the overnight session, and we have created this high tick failure here, and now we have fairly aggressively sold off on some increased volume, came down here to the overnight session point of control, and now this is kind of a decision area of whether or not we are going to come back down into this range to take out and test the overnight low, or if we're going to hold this point of control and move back up to test some of this untested supply. It looks like we are going to continue at least to test lower. Seems like there's definitely some sellers here, but not much for me to do here. If we get some kind of strong volume come in here and a failure here, could be looking to come back up and take out these highs, and we've tested at least up in could get up into this 88 area, which would be a little bit of a decent short-term counter context trade from what I'm seeing now with how this move has come down. But also we do have a support for a long off this value area, but I'm going to be watching this also to see if we can come down, move here, and hold this area, and I'd be looking to short down through the overnight low. So after this low tick failure here and the respect of this lower value area to the left, this was definitely a possible trade setup. No fill here at 66 at the top of this, coming back into this trouble. Stop would have been 58, so I still could have taken 67, 68 and kept it at 10 or so. And then de-risk zone would have been a push above the 77, which I would be looking to hold, and then target would be 88. So this trade is would still be in play. But for me now, not getting the fill, not much for me to do here right now. And there's the target on that idea, right? At 88, came to 89 so far. So looking at this in hindsight, going back and forth on where my win rate is and taking the opportunities, but this seemed like one I could have been a little bit more aggressive on and not gotten my pullback to the tick, because an unwillingness to take an extra 2 ticks of risk cost me, that would have been, 20 on the target. Just took a long off of this imbalance bar up here, but the issue with this trade is that, it's funny that I don't take the trade that had a lot of support for context for structure here, and then I don't take that one for a nice 20 tick win, and then I take this one for a loss that doesn't really have much going for it. And this is partially because I feel like I missed out, so I need to take the opportunity, and then what happens is that just creates losses. There's not much structure here. There wasn't a big increase in volume on this push. And where do we see price likely to come back to? Anywhere in here, back down. I could see price coming back down to here, here to this previous demand area here. And I was in that trade for, I think, maybe a minute and before getting ripped out. And now, if we fail this area, if we fail these lows, this has a little bit more support for structure to the long side to come up, and my target was up into this 66 area. But I was definitely early. Not a whole lot of structure to support this trade at all. I'm long here. We came down on this little spike down, and then this strong imbalance push up, and I took this long back to this volume here that we can see on this profile. The idea is to take out these highs here up into this untested supply at the 66 round number, and we'll see what happens. I have decreased my stop on this because it is a fairly wide one. We formed this little structure here, so if price spikes down below this at the 72, right around my entry, I don't want price below that because then we have trouble coming from below. So it makes sense. It's a little early, but this is kind of a precarious little spot here. So if price was to come down here, anywhere down here, I wouldn't want to be, because then we would have this structure supporting that. So I think it makes sense to take off some risk here, and we'll see if we can get a flush above these highs, and that'll be my official break-even spot. So this is what I was talking about as far as I was taken out for a -2. On this imbalance push down, though, now we have this structure below. So if I'm down here, no reason to take a full stop, because I would expect this area to hold now from below to move lower. So the reduced stop makes sense here. So I was in the live session, so I couldn't record, but we pushed up, and expectation was to flush this overnight high or this overnight swing right here, and had really right. I was in at 66 and was trying to get just to take out the overnight high, and I got taken out for like, I don't know, 11 again on this small little push down. We had this large volume coming in, this real large compression here at the highs on the 20. So I was up 20, really wanted to lock in 20. So pretty confident that this is still going to take out the overnight high at the 24. And I was trying to get to 29 at this high tick, this 27, 28. I mean, 34, this is real likely to go to. I just was tired of it was just sitting there. So sometimes you got to sit through that. But so didn't quite get there, and then got taken out on this push down at 11. So yeah, here it goes, and just sitting at up 2 now with the losses that I took in the morning, and so that's where I'm at. This is definitely an interesting area here. We've been sitting around here really since for the last 15 minutes, and probably traded 15,000 contracts right in here. So I have no idea as to what this means, but a flush of the highs is still very likely. Or is this accumulation for short position to move down lower, or or longs. It could go either way. Seems like kind of a strange place to be accumulating for a move up, unless it's going to be a considerable move. But the recent rally that we've seen, we definitely could see more larger expansion to take out these highs if we're going to break all this structure here. But I really don't know, so I'm just kind of sitting here waiting. But this is definitely a very weak low now, but would like to see some kind of flush either way on either side of this. I could potentially flush the low here if we can get a big increase in volume, and I'll try to get long here again to come out and take out these highs. And we do have a fair amount of on the 15. We can see once all this goes, this is fairly thin up through here, so this has been tested. There's some untested supply here and then here, but I mean, so there's room all the way up to the 71 here, or at least into the 55, into the 50s. So those would be nice upside targets. But in the short term, this high ticket at 30, this high at 34, if all that can go, I'd be targeting the 50 or the up into even into the 70 long term. If not, if we fail back, I mean, you can see this morning, all of this trade is just kind of filled in this profile from yesterday's trade. And then now we've broken above, and it looks like all of that is breaking down now. So who's trapped here? Who are the trapped traders? So all of these 10,000 contracts, somebody was taking either side of these. So all of these longs up here are now trapped. Is this a spike down to pull in more shorts? Hard to say. That's definitely a possibility. But we have this structure to the left as well. So we're pushing down into this structure. So we either are going to hold now. I wouldn't be long because we have all of this trouble above. So to be long again, we need an imbalance push up here and a rejection of this previous value here. So the shorts are starting to look a little more attractive. Again, why? Thinking that even with as ugly as this structure is and as weak as this high is, there's a ton of trapped longs in here anticipating, just like I was, anticipating this flush of the overnight high and a push higher. So a lot of pain going on right now. And any push up into here, those guys are going to be looking to cover now, unless this is some kind of false break. Yeah, it's kind of saying, yeah, either or. It's saying both situations, but that's how I'm reading it, and I'm just trying to get clues as to what's more likely now. But asking the question of who is in trouble here, it's not the shorts. It's definitely all of these longs that have bought here, and there's a lot of them in here with an expectation to break higher. These shorts now here, there's some shorts and some large volume coming in here, so it certainly doesn't outweigh all of this accumulation though that was done right here. And now that's the break and the push up into that. So the long trade, if I can get a pullback here nice to this volume, I'd be looking to try that to break those highs again. So no trade for me. I'm just staring at this now. But obviously here's the answer. We got this last little flush down below this zone, pulling in some last minute shorts, and I was hoping to get a pullback into this area, and then we had this large compression here and no ability to pull the trigger. The low's at 96, so I just really wasn't confident about what was going on either. Didn't really, not that I knew, but I thought up was more likely to break these highs and then to flush that overnight high. And now we're definitely on for looking to push into that 50 and possibly that 70 areas of supply that I talked about. So after we came up and hit that, tagged that 50 area up there, we got this massive sell-off. So I'm not going to try to speculate as to why or what it was, but I took it long off of this huge push down, looking for us to move back up into this trouble area at the 99s, and I'm going to take that off at 98, try to get around 20, which would be fantastic. And it's just moving so quick. Let's hope that I can get up there, and looks like I'm going to get there. And we just filled there at 98, so that's a great trade. Hard for me to trade when it gets this volatile with stops like that, but I've been missing some opportunities because I'm just afraid. I'm living in fear, trading in fear, trying not to lose, instead of looking at the opportunity and keeping a winner mentality. So I didn't know this was going to happen. We certainly could have come down and broken the overnight low, but we tested and went down below this structure, the bulk of the volume, and rejected off of this. Put in this large volume here, this marked volume, and then we got this imbalance push up. And then we came back down, and I'm watching this volume here. I want to see how this reacts. And once we kind of hold this here, I took the trade at the 75 here, trying to manage a 10 tick stop basically. And once we got the push up, I managed it pretty tightly, and then went to break even on a push above here. And then fortunately we never went back. What I was looking for is to push into this large volume here, and then a reaction at the 66 at the round number, which we tend to always see. And here we are. We went up to about 66.01, and I think I took it off at 98. So pretty good management on this one. Feeling good. I really needed that win, but I need to trade what I'm seeing and trust my read and my edge, and I'm just so gun shy. My confidence is still not great, but I need to get out of this demo trap as well, because would I have taken that trade live? I need to know that I would have. And I'm trading profitably. My expectancy is positive, so I need to take the leap and jump and give it a shot and see what happens. The only reason, it's not even really about the money or losing the money, it's about confidence. If I go live and start losing again, I think it's going to be hard to handle, but it's not a big deal. It's just part of the journey. It's part of learning, and there's a lot of opportunity, and I need to, it's the same thing in poker. I'm trying to look at the opportunity and not play fear-based. Risk is about fear. It's natural. So it makes sense, but I'm trying to overcome it, and I'm really working hard at it, and I'm getting there. So back to the price action. No point in really speculating, but I thought that it was very, very strange how we accumulated all of this trade here. And then for higher time frame institutions and stuff, this isn't much of a flush up 20 to 50. And I did nail that 50, and we can see it here on this 5 minute. This is exactly where we came up to test into this supply. But we have been up here like 3 times now, so I would consider these highs weak, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be broken. And this is a very strong unfair price now and a rejection off that 50 area. So that means a lot, and that's something worth and that we need to pay attention to, that I need to pay attention to. And now this is a seriously significant imbalance move down. But now where are we at trading? We're back trading on the 15. We're just back in yesterday's value area. And the bulk of this trade has been filling in this. So I wouldn't be surprised at this point, with the failure of yesterday's high and the range, that now that we're coming back in, very likely to come down and take out this overnight low and to fill in all this space. I mean, we've had a 500 tick. Look at this, 500 ticks since Thursday. Or this is, since Thursday. Friday at 2 a.m. we were at 6150 all the way to 6650. That's 500 ticks. So a little bit of a reversion to the mean, or a little bit, it doesn't mean that it has to happen, but to come back and fill in some of this trade and some of this space makes a lot of sense. Is it going to happen? No, maybe not. There's no guarantees. I don't necessarily have any idea. I'm just speculating, but it certainly makes a lot of sense that we've expanded so far so quickly. In oil it can happen. But we also look at, we have had some increase in the ATR, the average true range in trade, which is good because that means larger, more volatile moves. over this area, but back here it was even higher. We were seeing even larger ranges, but pretty cool, exciting stuff. Not saying I have any idea what I'm talking about, but these are just some of my random musings and thoughts. I feel like I missed two more long opportunities here. This one I passed on, coming up this little imbalance on an increase in volume here at 822 to hold this structure here. The reason I didn't take this is it seemed like this was just kind of getting choppy, but we did have the largest volume of the day, very large buying coming in, so I thought it's definitely worth the risk here, definitely worth the try. And 90 up into to take that off into this into the 20 here, so 18 around here, so 92, that would be 25 ticks, and a nice try there. And then again, I felt this was also worth a try. After came down, held, started forming back up into this previous value area here, and this imbalance up, holding this volume, and then that would have been here in this imbalance up. I wanted to buy 14 after this move and didn't come back. So anywhere in here would have been worth a try, I think. 11, 10, and then once this volume formed, to put a stop down below here at 07. And then the idea would be to trade up into this untested, the top of this untested area. So this one's much more risky than the first one I wanted to take, because we are pushing up into this untested supply here. So at that point I'm thinking, well, what is my upside? At the most I'm thinking 35 here. So if I can get 20, and then what's my stop? 10. So it's a 2-to-1, 2R on that, but being that we are into this untested supply, it's a little more risky, I think. Trying to short here off of this failure of the highs and large compression coming in. It's bouncing around quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I think it's looking pretty good for a try to break these lows and all the way down. I'm going to try to get it down to the 66 round number here. And as soon as we break these lows, I'm going to take off my risk. Right around here. I don't want to manage it too tight, but there's a lot of weakness here. This is somewhat counter context because of the real large volume below, but I like it for a counter context. I guess you could call it scalp, but it'll be more than a scalp, really. Going to be managing it here pretty tight. I don't want price back to my entry at this point. So I'm going to go break even here now, or +1, and I am going to be looking to get all the way down to the 6601. If we don't come back up and take me out, no large volume is coming in yet, so that's good. But this is a fairly aggressive trade, I would say, but there's definitely some liquidity all down below this, and I feel like we can get down into this previous value here. We are getting kind of more into a balanced day because the volume is definitely decreasing, so but gonna need a little luck. Just held my +1 by 1, but I'm guessing I'm gonna get taken out here. We had some pretty chunky volume coming in here that we're now above, so just it's going to be up to luck now, but I wouldn't expect that I'm going to survive this trade, but I've been wrong before. I'd be happy to be wrong again. And I'm out +1. So like I said, an aggressive, somewhat counter context trade. When this volume came in here, I thought that it didn't look good, but when you take an aggressive trade, take an aggressive de-risk and give it a shot. But it held the volume so far. And again, looking at the volume here, we're getting fairly light, and we've already filled in a whole lot of this space. I liked the other long trades that I talked about more earlier, especially this one from the 90 all the way up into the 18 because of the support of being with context in the largest volume of the day when we had these real large buyers stepping in. And probably going to be done for the day because this is about the time when I probably start getting into trouble if I'm going to continue to trade, because lower volume, less volatility, so increased chances of being chopped up. Try to get a short again here. Some really large volume came in here, and as soon as we got this small imbalance down, I tried to get in at 22 and didn't quite get a pullback there, and would have been the same target to come down to the bottom side of this balance here to the 01. And now I'm going to have to pull my order for sure, because I wouldn't want to have price all the way back here after breaking these lows. And there's the target on that one. So lesson of the day for me today is that I need to take the opportunities and trade them a little bit more aggressively. There's one and two longs here. This one as well. This one in the morning. This was definitely a solid setup after this imbalance push here to buy this 68, 69, whatever into here into the 88 untested supply. So a lot of money left on the table today, unfortunately, but reading the market well, and we can see exactly where this came to, our untested demand area here. And we were at 99 of the low on this one, and my target was 01.